incubated by Harvard in Tech. nScribe Technologies uses artificial intelligence to generate text and automate the writing of emails. This helps companies improve relationships with customers and prospects while reducing costs. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm Greg Bybee, one of the co-founders of nScribe, and we're trying to help solve the email crisis. So think for just a minute about how you spend most of your day. And if you're like most professionals, the answer is email. Email, 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 and more email. In fact, about 290 billion emails are sent every day around the world, and the average professional spends 17 hours a week doing nothing but reading, writing, and responding to emails. So what we do is use artificial intelligence to automatically generate the text of the email. Not just a snippet, not just the next few words, but the entire 3, 4, 5 paragraph email. And this actually helps save companies, individual workers, about 15 hours per week of their day. So this works across a number of industries. As you would imagine, in order for the AI to work, it has to be trained on a specific type of email, so it doesn't just handle any generic email. But we can do customer service emails, responding to customer questions or complaints. We can do sales and marketing emails, sending out a targeted cold email based on a certain set of value propositions and reference customers that are tailored to the recipient. We're also doing some work in insurance with claims processing and handling, because again, it's sort of a standardized email that they're constantly writing, as well as program management and logistics. And I'll give you one example in a bit related to government. So how we do this is a technology called natural language generation, or NLG, which is actually a fairly new area of AI that's been going for about 5 or 10 years now, that converts data into natural language or text. And actually, you may be familiar with it. This is sort of one of the more primitive versions of NLG, but it's helpful to think about. Is the Associated Press uses NLG to write actually a number of their news articles. So it takes data about, let's say, earnings releases and can put that into somewhat of a template to create news articles that get pushed out on the wire. So the old version of NLG was a lot of templates, right? Smart variables that it would add in. And as we've gotten more advanced, we're able to actually modify the underlying structure of the text to accommodate a much wider range of inputs. And that's sort of what we do. What makes our technology really unique is the fact it's able to handle structured and unstructured data. So it can parse information from press releases, from messaging documents, from website copy, and actually figure out where to put that into the email. And it's also able to think about emotion and alignment. So other versions of NLG out there are very kind of black and white. They're good at quantitative summary, but they're not good at thinking about how might the recipient feel about the letter. And since we're doing emails, we care a lot about the alignment between the sender and the recipient. And finally, we're really good at doing a wide variety of outputs that actually can mirror individual people's style. So for instance, when we work in government, it's very important that we can mimic the language, the lexicon, the style, the format of a member of Congress. And actually, we were recently published and spoke at the International Natural Language Generation Conference in Tokyo, so we're pretty excited about that to start getting some recognition. So the way it works is we take a bunch of inputs, and an example will make it more helpful on the next slide, but what type of letter you want to generate. We'll take structured text and data from a CRM, from a marketing automation system, from a product database, and then we parse all of that into our system and output an email or a letter of some sort. So I thought what I would do is try to give you an example to help it make sense. And I think one of the more interesting ones is actually the government. So we work with a lot of state governments as well as Congress, the House of Representatives, to help them respond to constituent mail. So we'll respond to individual questions. We'll also do campaign mail, proactive follow-ups, and what are called 499s, or sort of unsolicited outbound emails. And this is kind of an important challenge to solve because democracy is struggling a little bit, because the whole idea of our democracy was you have 535 representatives that have relationships with their constituents, and they represent them in Congress. But the problem is the population has grown, and there's a lot more inputs now. See if the animation works, which you've got these advocacy organizations that are starting to get louder and louder. Social media and the ability for these advocacy organizations to reach out directly to constituents means they've started to take over the voice in the dialogue. And actually, it's caused a lot of polarization. So what we're trying to do is help the representatives, last animation, help the representatives reconnect to the constituents directly and actually empower them to respond. And this is tough because representatives get on average 50,000 letters per year, each member they're expected to respond to. So the fact that there's more and more civic technology companies, actually quite a few here, we're really happy about it. It's great. 5 calls, countable, ResistBot, make it super easy for you to contact your representative. But that makes it really hard for representatives to respond. And so actually about 40% of constituents have contacted their representatives, and 30% of legislative staff time is now spent doing nothing but respond to constituents. Which at first sounds good that they're spending time to respond, but then you realize that's 30% of our entire government is spent doing nothing but communicating with their constituents, not actually doing substantive policy work or trying to write bills or trying to change the law. So the old process, they would write in. Basically, you had a whole team of people, a legislative correspondent, a legislative staff that's updating the letter, researching the issue, sending it up for approvals. A lot of back and forth. Actually takes 2 to 3 email hours per email to write and edit. Now that email will go to maybe 100 people who wrote in about the same topic that week, but still hours and hours are spent on these. And with us, it's able to get that down to a couple minutes. So there's a lot of challenges, as you've probably seen with government communication. The way they do it now is a lot of templates. Thanks for writing in. We appreciate your response. Here's what we think about immigration or impeachment or the Equality Act. Please stay in touch, right? And actually, the constituents get pretty frustrated when they get that. If anyone has ever written in to their legislator, you've gotten one of these letters back, and it's sort of the exact same. And they're very infuriating that you took the time to write and you got back something that says, thanks for your thoughts, please know I value your opinion, stay in touch. So what we're able to do now is research that bill automatically, pull all the information about it forward, and automatically generate that response. So I've got a demo actually over at my table right over there. Would love to show you, just come by and I'll show you how it works. But the gist is we look at what the member's writing style is, what vocabulary they use, sort of their lexicon, standard terminology. We look at what position the member has. So do they support impeachment or are they opposed to impeachment? Then we look at speeches they may have made. So we scour the internet, we look at their press releases, we look at their web copy, and we pull text that has already been written about that topic. Then we look at the bill. We actually look it up on congress.gov, we connect to Legiscan, LexisNexis, and so we'll understand, okay, where is this at? Who has voted on it? What stage is it in? Is it in the House? Is it in the Senate? Has it been sent to the president? We'll look at related legislation that may be relevant as well, so we can actually pull in a wider range of information. And then we can throw in other stuff like related events, upcoming town halls, into the letter as well to make it more personal. So here's an example of a letter that's generated 100% by our system using our AI. So it's got a standard thank you for contacting. That actually can be hard-coded if you want, kind of a standard greeting or thank you. And then it's going to have some background. So it's looked up AB 142. It knows who introduced it. It knows when. It knows what the bill would do. This information is pulled from legislative databases. It sort of summarizes the bill. Then it provides information about what the member thinks from their website, from press releases, sort of based on our analysis of that member's disposition. And then we'll even say where it's at in the process. And it says here, like, you may be interested to know that I voted for legislation that would, do something related. So it's actually pulling in that relevant information, as well as even an upcoming event at Starbucks. And it's able to do this in about, half a second. So we've got members across California, New York, Texas, Illinois, Georgia, Hawaii, quite a few in Congress using our platform now. And they're pretty happy with how much time it's been able to save them. And one thing we've also done is selling into government's very tricky, so we've signed up with a lot of partners. So Leidos is a Fortune 500, $15 billion company, major government contractor, so they're one of our resellers and partners. Fireside and iConstituent are also CRMs in the government that we integrate into to pull the information. And then we just started a partnership with NICD, the National Institute for Civil Discourse, that's focusing on also helping to enable government legislators to respond to constituents. So we're very happy about that. So please come by. We'd love to show it to you live. I think kind of seeing is believing, and would love to find a way to work together. Thank you.